Good morning. Welcome to the live stream. Streaming this morning live on Facebook and YouTube, as I do each and every weekday morning, right around 8 a.m. Eastern Time. I always appreciate you being here. It makes it a lot more fun. The more the merrier, right? It's geared for the purpose of helping you start your day on the right foot. So I always have a topic or issue or a question to address. And this morning I have a question which I'll address, which is regarding rates. So we brought up the topic last week, and this will be a continuation of that discussion. But before I do, a quick reminder that tonight, and for the next, well, including tonight, consecutive 4 Tuesdays, Mike Hathcote will be teaching his social media for voiceover class. So if you're looking to leverage social media to your advantage, and you certainly should be looking at that, then Mike Hathcote has what you need, because that is how he has primarily built his voiceover business. And, it'll be another trick in your bag of, well, let's not say it's not a trick, it's a tool. A trick would be kind of smoke and mirrors. This is not smoke and mirrors. This is practical, real-life business stuff. And it'll be a tool. It can be a major tool, an important tool, a tool with great leverage that you'll have in your toolbox for building your voiceover business. And that gets underway this evening at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Pacific. And the link is in the description of this video. So you can go, you can find out all about it, and then you can get the course, and a great investment in your voiceover future. So the question for today is this: are my voiceover rates too high or too low? That is a really good question. How do you know? How does any business know when their rates are too high or too low? And I'm a big fan of letting the market tell you what it needs. You've heard me talk about this on a number of occasions. I've talked about, that's how you find your money voice, your niche, or the niches that you'll be involved in. Let the market give you feedback. Let them tell you what you're good at. So how does that apply in terms of setting your rates? Well, let me answer the question by sharing with you how I grew my business and the strategy that I use to figure this out. And I hope that you find it practical. Now, as always, here's my disclaimer. It doesn't, just because I do it, if you do it a different way, you're not a bad person. You're not necessarily doing it wrong. And anybody that tries to intimidate you into doing it their way, saying their way is right, and if you don't do it that way, then you're not doing it right, then always question that. Always question voiceover authority. Always, always, always. Now, the things that I share are principle-based, principles that work within business and sometimes life in general. Oftentimes, most times, life in general. So, if there's a better way to do it, then I want to find it. But having, worked, been involved in business environments for many years, and consulting for a number of years, and in voiceover for a long time, this is what I have found to work best. So when I first started my business, I too had that question. I really wasn't sure where to begin. But I did know this, and this is a good place to begin. I knew what I needed. And at that point in time, to survive, I figured out, I calculated that to survive, I needed $200 a day. That's what I needed to make sure that all of our expenses were covered, and that we could, move forward without selling our cars and the house and moving into a tent and, all that kind of stuff. I figured we needed $200, and maybe we could gotten by with a little bit less, but we needed about $200 a day. So that was my goal when I set out. Frankly, I didn't care how that came. I didn't care if it was a $200 job a day. I didn't care if it was $10 jobs a day. It didn't matter to me. I needed to do the work. So as I set about, learning, and again, I was entry-level voiceover at that time. I mean, I had a background in broadcasting, so it's not like I was unfamiliar with recording commercials. But when you get into voiceover, you realize it's a much bigger world. There's so much more nuance involved, and oftentimes broadcast does not translate well unless you're just doing retail-type commercials. And everything is a big sell, and you're always selling, and that can serve you well. I mean, as a matter of fact, I would say early on in my career, that's what kept me afloat, because I was doing lots and lots of radio commercials, many of them very small markets for not much money at all. But I didn't care because, again, my goal was $200 a day. But here's what happened. Over time, as my marketing got better, as my skill level increased, and I got better at recording voiceovers, and I began to learn and understand the business, so too did the demand for my work. I began winning more auditions, more people responding to my marketing efforts. And as a result, my day began to fill. And early on, I just took whatever work I could get. But what happened was eventually my day filled. Now, this is where, supply and demand. There wasn't much demand for my work early on. But as time went by, the demand grew. And my supply, my availability became less and less because once your day fills up, and maybe you're at a place right now that's even hard to imagine. And I get it because it was hard to imagine for me too. But again, developing the proper skills, learning the proper strategies, it happens with a little bit of time. So eventually my day filled. So what did I do then? And this is the part where I want to tell you how I dealt with rates. I did what any business should do, and that is I raised my rates. But let me tell you exactly how I did that. I didn't go back and communicate to all of my clients with a big sweeping, hey, my rates are now increased. I went through my list of clients that I was working with, and I picked the lowest pay, or what I would consider the lowest return on investment. And sometimes that wasn't just money. Sometimes it was, some people are more difficult to work with than others. Some people, some clients do their work up front and they don't need, 5 pickups and changes and edits, and they're just easier. It's just an easier transaction. So it's less effort for the money. But I decided to select what I would consider bottom tier of my clients. As people, they all have infinite value. I get that. As clients, you can very much place a value on them, just like voiceover talent. And I went to my lowest pay, my lowest return on investment clients. And I said, I'm raising my rates because my thought process was this. This is how I'm going to prune the tree, prune the bush. And those of you who garden, and by the way, I'm not a green thumb kind of guy. My wife very much is so. But I do know this, that if you have like a bush or a shrub or a plant that you're trying to get to grow, and you just let limbs and leaves grow all willy-nilly and untrimmed, it will oftentimes branches and leaves will shadow over better growth, good growth, and it will keep the plant from reaching its full potential. So what you have to do is just, like in a vineyard, somebody who has a vineyard, they'll go through and they'll cut the vines of the grapes that are not producing well so that they don't suck the life out of the ones that have great potential. So this is pruning. Let's call it a pruning. As a matter of fact, I have called it that before. It's a pruning strategy. So I pruned off the branches, the clients that just were not producing for me, unless they wanted to pay me more for the privilege. So the way I did it is I went to them and said, look, this is my new rate. And half the time, half of those clients took the new rate. The other half did not. And so then what I did, that left a little room in my schedule to take on new clients. So as I marketed myself, I charged more for new clients. So instead of going back and increasing rates of my good, my good producing clients, as I brought in new clients, I charged them more. Now, over time, what happens is that even your good clients who are paying low dollar amount, there's not room for them anymore. So you have to go to them with a price increase, and they have the option to pay you more or to quit working with you, which leaves you room to bring in more clients at a higher rate. So that's my, that's my pruning strategy. It's a principle that comes from nature. Excuse me just a moment. Losing my voice here. I didn't make up the principle. I mean, that's the way life works. Sometimes you have to prune away some branches to make room for the big ones and the good stuff to grow in. And it works the same thing in business and marketing. And it's amazing how quickly my business grew. So take that, run with it, and see if that helps you to, well, it certainly answers the question of too high or too low because you let the market decide it, but you control the growth that way. You control the growth. All right, so let's see who's on this morning. We have a lot of folks on this morning. What's up in Cape Town, South Africa, Sandra? Oh, let's see here. Hey, Neil in North Carolina. Bruce, what's up in Kentucky? Jessica in my old stomping ground of Columbus, Ohio. Ed in the Ozarks. Jacob, Cookeville, Tennessee. Patricia, Buffalo. Danny, San Diego. What's up? Hey, Bruce, how are you doing? Steve, good morning up in the great state of Wisconsin, the dairy state. I don't think is that what you call yourself, the dairy state? See, Minnesota is the land of 10,000 lakes, right? Maybe you are the dairy state. You certainly are in practicality, that's for sure. Hey, Doug in Indy. What's up, Lemuel? At the fort? Hey, Matt in Orlando. Casey in Sydney, Australia. Good morning. Or not good morning for you. Jonathan. All right, in the deep tropics of Michigan. Hey, Calvin in Minnesota. Says he's been watching the videos for weeks now. Really trying to get into voiceover. Love it. All right. Appreciate that. Melbourne, Australia. Oh, another listener in Australia. Great. Keith in Florida. Tony. And the burbs of the Queen City. Speaking of Cincinnati. Telling me to stay cool in the booth today because outside you won't. You know, it's one of those days where you can tell the humidity is just extremely high because when I woke up this morning, our windows were just covered in dew. You could barely see out the windows because it's just water. Because when the humidity hits the cool glass, it just turns to, it's just water. It's crazy. Yeah, it's one of those days where you feel like you're going to feel like you're going to be wrapped in a warm, wet blanket. Herb says, show me the money. You got it, man. Hey, Irene. Good morning. They're in Wilmington, North Carolina. Grant in Columbus. Love it. Brian in Elbert, Colorado. Bruce, how are you doing? Jeff, good morning to you. Austin, what's up? Argentina. Love it. Good morning. Harrison in Orlando. We've got Michael in Saxonburg. And indeed, Wisconsin is the dairy state. All right. New York City in the house this morning. Texas. Hey, guys, thanks a lot for being here. I do appreciate it. And I hope you find the information useful. If you do, make sure you subscribe. That way you'll be notified when I go live every morning. And give it a thumbs up and share the content and share the love, share the good news. And I make sure you go into the description here on the YouTube channel or YouTube video. Get signed up for Mike Cathcote's social media for voiceover class tonight. And we'll see you there. Guys, have a great day. Take care.